Welcome back, boss. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to master your content marketing strategy in a way that helps you meet your bottom line, meaning make more money in your business. Because this ain't a hobby, you got bills to pay. So if you are constantly feeling behind when it comes to producing content, or you're frustrated because you're just finding all these generic content ideas online, or you're even just wondering if content marketing is worth it because you're spending a lot of time, but it's not actually bringing you more clients and customers, I'm going to go through 5 steps that will help you never run out of content ideas, ensure those content ideas are a perfect fit for your business, and that they lead to more sales, and ensure that it's organized and efficient so you can do all this in as little time as possible. Because we're running a business, it shouldn't be running us. So make more money in less time, feel better doing it. Sound worth it? Let's dive in. All right, step 1 in this content marketing plan or content marketing strategy is to list out your needs. Now, when I say needs, what I'm talking about here is where do you need content in your business? I want you to list out 5 or less places that you're going to be producing content. So this could be social media platforms, it could be your blog, a podcast, a video channel, whatever it might be. Make that list. But I want you to simplify it. If you've got a lot of different places, you're a business owner. You don't have time to create a million pieces of content. That's going to waste your time and it's not going to make you any additional money. Remember that the majority of the people who see your content, even if they're subscribed to you, they're only going to see about 10% of what you create. So what you create can be used and disseminated out into multiple different places. So an example of this is with this channel. What I do with the video is turn that into the blog post. And then I spin off of that for social media or for other shorter content like email. So how can you do that same thing in your business? Look for the main platform, the main piece of content that you want to create, and then look at ways that you can disseminate that one piece of content to multiple places. And again, I want you to narrow it down to less than 5, because if you have more than 5 places that you're trying to create content for, you don't have a business, you have a very long to-do list, but it's not gonna necessarily make you money. So simplify, focus on the things that are closest to cash, the things that will actually bring you the best results, and then let's get into step number 2. Step number 2 is going to be listing out 4 to 5 categories for content ideas. You do not need content ideas to fill the categories just yet. Now, when I say category, what I'm really meaning are what are the things that you really want to be known for, or what are the main things that you talk about? You especially want to make sure that you're choosing categories that lead to something that you sell or lead to something that you offer that will lead to something that you sell. For instance, if you're leading to a free opt-in that's leading to a course. Otherwise, if you are leading to maybe a blog post that's going to lead to a product offer, you want to make sure that everything is purposeful and meaningful and taking people to that next step. You're not just creating content to get likes and shares. That's pointless. You don't need likes and shares in your business. You need revenue in your business. And that means making sure that the content has meaning, has purpose, and has direction to point people to what it is that you actually offer. So let me give you some examples of content categories. This could be particular how-tos that are relevant to your business. This could be tips that are relevant to your business. This could be educational topics. Again, what do you want to be known for? If you're more of maybe a product-based or service-based business where you don't necessarily have a lot of how-tos or tips or educational topics, instead what you can do is behind the scenes. You could do things like testimonials or case studies or anything like that. You could do something like finished products where maybe you're even showing before, during, and after to be able to show the transition from, if you're potentially an artist, let's say, to show the transition from starting the project to finishing the project. Or for instance, my husband is in construction, he's a carpenter, so he might show before, during, and after photos or topics talking about what he's doing or how he's doing it, maybe showing little tips along the way that then lead to that finished product. An example of mine as a coach, I focus on mindset, obviously, as a mindset belief breakthrough coach. I talk about money because it's a skill that a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with. I talk about habits because it's a big part of what I do and the work that I do. I talk a lot about productivity because all the people that I work with are overwhelmed and they're looking for ways to be more productive. A lot of times they need to be working on their mindset, but oftentimes we need to look at the habits and the productivity issues that mindset has created. And then I have a general entrepreneur category that's just sort of my catch-all if I want to talk about different things or lifestyle things, self-care, that sort of thing. So what are those categories for you? I want to challenge you to write down some of your categories in the comments below. Let me know what they are, and I can give you some feedback on them if you'd like. Step number 3 is to now get organized. Before you have your content ideas, you need to create organization for them. And the best way that I can tell you to do this is to either start a spreadsheet, something you can access from your computer and your phone, or create a task in whatever task management system you use. I use ClickUp, maybe you use Asana, something like that where you can just brain dump into these categories that you've now created. Step number 4, again, before we've even started filling up content ideas, is to templatize it, for lack of a better word. What I want you to do is put this into a template based on your needs. So for instance, Monday, I talk about this category. Tuesdays, I talk about this category. Or if you're doing something once a week, the first week of the month, I talk about category number 1. And the second week of the month, I talk about category number 2. I want you to create a template like this because you don't have time to waste to constantly figure out what you're doing. So the more you can turn it into a system, the more you're going to be able to get into the flow with it and be able to create content really quickly. Now, this doesn't mean that when you sit down, let's say these videos, for instance, when I sit down, I may or may not create 5 different pieces of content for 5 different categories. Perhaps I am like in productive mode, and so I'm going to create a bunch of videos for productivity. Will I launch them back to back? Maybe not. If you're in the mode of creating something for one category, maybe you're going to create 3 or 4 pieces of content and schedule those in advance. Because you have this template, this system, it's going to allow you to get into the flow much easier. It's going to allow you to batch create easier. It's going to save you a ton of time, a ton of creative energy, and help you get more done so that you can move on to money-making things in your business. Not to say that content creation isn't money-making. It is if you're doing it right. We're going to be talking about that in the next step, but we want to make sure that it's not all our time going into content creation because let's face it, you've got other things to do as well. Now we come to step number 5. This is where you actually start filling that spreadsheet or that task, those categories with your content ideas. So the first way that you're going to do this is the most important way. You cannot get away from this one. You must do this and you must do it on repeat. Ask your audience for their questions and their needs. And again, do this on repeat. So let's say you've narrowed down to 5 different content ideas. Go into your audience, send an email, reach out to people personally, send a text message, post in Facebook. What are your burning questions around X, Y, or Z? Right? Now, let's say you've got a general topic. I'm going to use productivity, for example. Let's say you've got a general topic around productivity, but you know you've got a really specific topic within that you want to talk about. Ask questions. Ask your audience what questions they have on that topic. So, what burning questions do you have on time blocking? What burning questions do you have on work-life balance? Whatever it might be, you want to ask your audience because those are the people that are going to give you the best ideas. You always want to be serving your audience. We're always showing up to serve. And so if you're asking them those questions, you're getting into their brain, you're serving what they need. This creates an engaged audience. This gets you the likes, it gets you the shares, but it also gets you an audience that trusts you, that understands that you have answers for them, so that when one video or one blog post or one email or one social post answers a question and then leads them to something else, they want to take that next action because now they trust you. They're like, oh, she's in my brain. She knows exactly what I need. This totally solves a problem for me. This is exactly what I'm looking for. And now they know they can trust you to move on to the next step. This is the most important part of step number 5. Make sure that you're asking your audience and you're asking them repeatedly. Now, you don't necessarily just have to ask them. You can also just be paying attention. And every time you see them asking something or saying something, if it gives you an idea for content, put that in the right category. This way you have this running list of things that your people need from you. Now that's only part 1 of step 5. The second part is you need to train your brain to start to look for topics everywhere. This can be in books that you're reading, this could be in movies that you're watching, social media posts that you're seeing. If maybe somebody's answering something in a social media post and it gets you on a rant, or you see something and it just kind of makes you think of what it is that you do. Doesn't matter what you do, I guarantee you have probably 10 different content ideas every single week that you don't realize are content ideas. And that's the kicker. You need to train your brain to realize that just because I know it, or I think it, or it seems obvious to me, doesn't mean it wouldn't be obvious to somebody else, doesn't mean it would be obvious to somebody else, doesn't mean it wouldn't be very helpful to someone else. So you have tons and tons and tons of content ideas. As you're going through, you're training your brain to look for these ideas. You want to make sure that you go back and you put it wherever it is you're capturing it, wherever, if that's a spreadsheet, if that's a task, and you want to make sure you're putting it under the correct category. So that immediately when you go in, you're looking at your template and you're like, I need topics for X, Y, or Z. You go under X, Y, or Z category and you're like, oh yeah, that's right. Last week this happened. It gave me that great idea. Let me go ahead and create that. We want to believe that this needs to be harder than it is, but if you systemize it and simplify it and then just train your brain to look for those things and get into the routines that are going to support you, this is all you need. You're not going to run out of ideas. You're not going to run out of time. You're not going to be frustrated trying to figure out what other people need because you've asked them exactly what they need. You're going to be able to just jump right into it, knock out the content that's going to lead to a sale, and then get on with the rest of your business. Okay, so now you've got your content marketing strategy. It's going to help you save time. It's going to help you make money. It's going to help you feel less overwhelmed as you do it. But what if you're struggling to put yourself out there? You've got all these content ideas, but you're worried that you're not expert enough or that people won't want to hear from you, or what will people say? How do you overcome the internal roadblocks that help you to take the next step? I teach a method I developed over 10 years ago called the breakthrough formula. It's helped countless women to overcome their fears, overcome their bad habits, overcome their blocks so they can crush their goals, not their soul. And I have a free training called Bottlenecks to Breakthroughs that will teach you how it works. So if you've ever felt stuck, but unsure why you couldn't get past your fears or take the massive action that you want to take in your business, definitely grab that free training to learn how to master your own mindset. And if you're brand new here, my name is Tara Wagner. I help female entrepreneurs crush their goals, not their soul, by getting their heads, their hearts, and their habits straightened out. If that sounds like your jam, be sure to subscribe, hit the bell, hit the like button, and after you grab that free mindset training, check out those other videos to help you master your time as well. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you there. All right, let's do this. Step 1 is to list out your needs.